Can cyber risk be a systemic risk to the financial system? There are two different areas to examine in this. Firstly, the financial system is an ecosystem, which is financial institutions being incredibly digitalized, highly interconnected, interdependent, and effectively comprising an operational network. Secondly, cyber risk in itself has three unique characteristics. Firstly, the speed of propagation through the financial system. Second, the scale of propagation through the financial system. And third, the threat that comes from different adversarial actors. When combined together, cyber risk, if crystallized in a number of different scenarios, can pose a risk to the financial system, causing financial instability and a systemic risk. But how could this actually happen? Well, there are a number of different scenarios. For example, if a cyber attack causes a lengthy outage, or if a cyber attack compromises the data integrity of financial institutions, then this could lead to a loss of confidence in the financial system. Or if, for example, there is a failure at a monopolistic service, or if there is a failure of a dominant technology as a result of a cyber attack, there is no substitute in the market, perhaps. Or if there is a failure at a financial market infrastructure, such as a payment system, or a central securities depository, or a central counterparty, very much making up the plumbing of the financial system. Or indeed, if there is failure at a third-party provider that the financial system depends on, this could lead to not only a lack of substitutability and hence cause significant issues, but also, given the interconnectedness of the FMI or of the third-party provider, a cyber risk could, as a result, cause a contagion effect through the system. Loss of confidence, the lack of substitutability, or even the interconnectedness are transmission channels which, under given circumstances, could cause financial instability or systemic risk. So what do we actually do about this? This cannot be an issue that can be solved in one single way. There are a number of different things that we as regulators and the market need to think about and put together in a multidimensional, holistic manner. So first and foremost, it is essential that authorities around the world have the right supervisory and regulatory framework to ensure that their financial entities actually apply the highest level of cybersecurity. That means an effective regulation and coherent, effective and robust supervision. But it's also a case of understanding that cyber risk in itself is a probability of one. It is not a question of if a cyber attack will happen or a cyber incident will occur. It is a question of when. And this therefore accentuates the need for being prepared. How do we do this? Well, there are a number of ways. Firstly, we need to understand the ecosystem. On a deep level, we need to be able to map the interconnections, the technologies that underpin these interconnections of the financial sector. Having a good mapping and a network will allow us to identify the critical nodes in the systems, the concentration points, and therefore also understand the contagion channels or the transmission channels that a cyber attack can actually go through. Having a deeper understanding of the network will therefore allow us to build our policies and our frameworks accordingly. On top of this, it is essential that we understand the different scenarios, perhaps extreme but plausible scenarios that could occur. Putting a playbook of scenarios together, testing them, exercising them is essential. This will allow us to create an appropriate framework for incident response, crisis communication, and essentially develop solutions to mitigate possible vulnerabilities on a macro level. But it's not just this. Public and private sector need to come together and collaborate and coordinate better. Things such as intelligence and information sharing will allow the market and authorities on an ex-ante level manage possible cyber threats and vulnerabilities before they materialize into actual incidents. But there are other things also that we need to do. We need to understand the threat landscape, and in so doing, we need to be able to carry out new things such as stress testing, being able to think of different scenarios and stress test those scenarios through potential cyber scenarios and incidents will allow us to not only understand how it transmits through the system, but ultimately make that one deep connection which could ultimately cause systemic risk, which is how a cyber incident or an operational incident of that nature could connect and impact financial stress. This is not a problem that can be resolved alone. It requires collaboration, it requires coordination, it requires the building of trust within the financial system. We cannot do this in one specific way. We need to have a range of different building blocks, and putting these building blocks together requires a strategy at the very top level. This strategy needs to encompass regulation supervision, but also an understanding that all of this must be done collectively. It requires micro and macro perspectives. But if we can do that, then we put ourselves in a much better position to be able to prevent potential cyber risk translating into systemic risk, therefore causing financial instability.